Right now, you are reading this because light traveled through a piece of glass thinner than a human hair, lying on the floor of the ocean in total darkness, thousands of miles away. We call it the cloud. It might be the most misleading word in all of technology. Your data is not in the sky, and it almost never goes to space. When you open a website hosted on another continent, your request does not beam up to a satellite. It dives into the sea. It races along a cable no thicker than a garden hose, resting unburied on the seabed, visits the far side of the world, and comes back in a fraction of a second. More than 95% of all the data that crosses an ocean, every video call, every message, every page you have ever loaded from far away, travels this way, through a few hundred cables lying on the bottom of the sea. Satellites carry a rounding error by comparison. The internet is not a cloud. It is a web of glass threads at the bottom of the ocean. Let's follow one down. Pull one of these cables up from the deep and it is almost disappointingly ordinary, about as thick as a garden hose. Cut it open and at the very center is a bundle of glass fibers, each about the width of a human hair. That is it. That is the backbone of the internet, a few strands of ultra-pure glass. Your data travels through them not as electricity, but as light, pulses flickering on and off billions of times a second. So fast that a single modern cable can carry more than 200 trillion bits every second, enough for millions of people to stream at the same time through a thread you could snap with your hands. But there is a problem. Light traveling through glass slowly fades. After 50 or 100 kilometers, the signal would be too dim to read. Across an entire ocean, it should simply die in the dark. So every 50 to 150 kilometers, the cable passes through a device called a repeater, and this is where it gets beautiful. The repeater does not turn the light back into electricity and rebuild it. The light stays light the entire way across the ocean. Instead, the fading signal passes through a short coil of special glass laced with a rare element called erbium. A small laser keeps those erbium atoms charged up with energy, and when your weak incoming light strikes them, it triggers them to release that energy as new light at the exact same wavelength, in the exact same rhythm. The light, in effect, clones itself. It is the very same physics that powers a laser. Your dimming signal walks in, and a bright, identical copy walks out. And it does that again and again, all the way across the sea. But a repeater needs power, and it is sitting in the middle of an ocean, thousands of miles from the nearest outlet. So running alongside the glass is a single copper conductor. From a building on the shore, the cable is fed something like 10,000 volts of electricity, enough to power every repeater along its entire length. And the return path for that circuit? The ocean itself. The sea completes the loop. Now here is the part that should keep you up at night. This cable, carrying the traffic of entire nations, is about as thick as a garden hose, unarmored in the deep, lying loose on the seabed, guarded by nothing. And it breaks, constantly. Somewhere in the world, a cable is damaged roughly every couple of days, 100 to 200 times a year. It is almost never sharks. That is a myth. About 2/3 of the time, it is us, a ship dropping anchor in the wrong place, or a fishing trawler dragging the bottom. When one breaks, a specialized cable ship sails out, drops a hook called a grapnel miles down to the seabed, drags the cable up from the dark, splices those hair-thin glass fibers back together by hand on a rocking deck, and lowers it home. And somehow, you never notice, because in the instant it failed, your data was quietly rerouted through another cable an ocean away. Step back and look at the whole thing. Over 1.5 million kilometers of cable, a few hundred lines holding up the entire global internet. Each one costs hundreds of millions of dollars and is built to last about 25 years. And we have been doing this longer than you would think. The first cable across the Atlantic was laid in 1858. Its first message, a short greeting from a queen to a president, took almost 17 hours to send. 160 years later, that same ocean floor carries the entire internet at the speed of light. So the next time someone says your photos are in the cloud, remember where they really are. Not in the sky, not in space. They are at the bottom of the ocean, as pulses of light in glass thinner than a hair, healing themselves every 100 kilometers, powered by the sea and guarded by almost nothing. The most important machine on Earth, and almost no one has ever seen it. If you like discovering that the ordinary world is stranger than fiction, subscribe, because next time we answer how your face unlocks your phone, how a single glance becomes a key. This was the process. Now you know.